And just as a quick note, you know the difference between someone that was raised in the hip-hop generation or not by how they hold the mic. So I've changed up my style, but I used to hold the mic like this. In my previous rap career, it doesn't really help. But I'm gonna hold it like this for y'all. Two real quick thank yous. First is thank you for the exercise. I've downloaded it. Hopefully this will keep me accountable to somebody out there. Thank you for the Coders4Africa team. I think it's critical that that we're here today, and I hope if anybody has connections with the Post or any media outlets, folks who are tweeting, get this on there. Like a lot of times we have great events like this, and we won't hear about it the next day. And so it's critical because nowadays you're hearing a lot of terms around like Afropolitan and Afro what and Afro whatever, but having this kind of pseudonym so that we have Afro user interface folks, Afro programmers, project managers is key. So, let me go and kind of use the format that I was given to kind of talk about who I am and some of the stuff that I'm working on. So I've been in and around technology, entrepreneurship in Africa for about 14 years, different corners through NGOs, SMEs on the continent, and even ventures. I'm on my fourth one now. And through that, I've had a lot of good experiences and a lot of failures as well. So Monster Collabs was essentially developed or started sort of in reflection of that. Looking at the statistics that we've probably heard like a billion times the last week around the GDP growth rates and in all of the development of the business environment across Africa, but understanding that a lot of the startups and SMEs essentially face the same challenges that startups and SMEs do here, which is that ongoing support and advice after they've launched. So who's there to be sort of a trusted advisor that can connect them with whether it's the business or technical needs that they have, that can get them to grow their product or maybe even become more attractive to investors. There's research that's come out of even the Kenyan ecosystem that says that despite sort of the energy that's there around the hubs and the like, you still have stagnation after the firms launch their initial product. And part of it is around access to funds and access to finance, which is true, even though there's even more interesting data that says that a lot of, which is probably even here with entrepreneurs here in the minority community, that they stay self-funded longer than, let's say, most of the entrepreneurs in the Silicon Valley, for instance. But then there's also access to skills, access to that critical information that any firm, anytime, even mine, needs. And so we were launched in that spirit, basically to assist them in making that match. So we're very focused around advisory, very focused around matchmaking, and then also managing relationships between advisors and advisees to make sure that that skills transfer takes place. The firm also does support around technology and education. As I mentioned here, the last 3.5 years of my career was around that in the developing world, mostly in East Africa. So what we do is try to, I don't know who was here, someone else here that made a presentation around EdTech. A lot of deals happen in DC. So, there's a lot of education, health related projects that happen in DC that impact Africa. So deal flow, just like Silicon Valley is hot for startups, if you're into EdTech, ed, health, ag, DC is a spot for that. So what we try to do is make sure that when those projects happen, one, that they sort of include as a holistic process as possible to make sure that we're not dumping computers in classrooms, but that they sort of abide by some very simple sustainability rules so that the projects can be long-lasting. And two, frankly speaking, plug those projects in with local entrepreneurs. So sort of in the space of outsourcing, project work, client work out to folks on the continent, but actually saying, if you have a project, for instance, one proposal that we went on, if you're going to do, for instance, an ag job training project in West Africa, why aren't you leveraging a startup that's doing job matching that's already launched there? And so trying to create more deals. So for us, in my company, our firm basically is measured by how we're able to grow businesses to get more deals, to grow more, to get more investments. Sort of in the last question, which I thought was a very interesting one around, if I was in an African country right now, what would be my ultimate contribution? Honestly, I think being a diaspora, we very much underplay and underestimate our amplification, sort of our ability to amplify voices in here. And we make a lot of the same mistakes that other folks make about going in and kind of crowding out. So I think for me, I'm always interested in listening and figuring out like who's the genius in the room, like what's the firm that's coming out with the next album. So when I go to any country or any setting, I'm always just happy to learn and kind of figure out like who needs to be brought forward to get that next set of resources. And that's the principle that especially at this stage in my career, that I focus on. So thank you very much.